Shalom. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Call hello Yahweh Bahasham. Yahweh Shai. Bahasham. Rachahakwadash. And double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations as always to the elect. News and prophecy, where we link the things happening worldwide to the Holy Scriptures. All right, and in today's lesson, we will be dealing with a few happenings centered around, domestic terrorism. As you can see here, Iranian sleeper cells stoking fear in U.S. cities. All right, now we know that there's some back and forth with Iran. All right, and over the years we've told you pretty much we're a few false flags away from the elite being able to come down with great wrath via the militaries that act on their behalf in a manner that we've never seen. And we have the blackout threat, we have the pandemic threat, we have the threat of heathen nations hacking into our system. All right, there's so many threats. There's also the threat of domestic terror. All right, and when you look up what a sleeper cell is, as now with the friction with Iran, now we're seeing Iranian sleeper cells, all right, causing fear to the U.S. cities. All right, and a sleeper cell, okay, is an agent. A sleeper cell agent is a clandestine operative, either an intelligence agent or a terrorist who lives undercover in a target country or organization for an extension or extended period, often years, without actively participating in any mission or communicating with their sponsors. They remain dormant, blending into the local population until they are activated by a prearranged signal or directive to carry out a specific task. All right. And the specific task that can come from this is some type of attack here on U.S. soil. As we know, the left under Joe Biden, which we know the elites were at the forefront of it, allowed millions of migrants over into the United States. They just opened the borders and allowed these people to flood in. And we know the order out of chaos. We know the problem, reaction, solution. All right, the two horns like a lamb working together, giving you the freedom of choice, Democratic and Republican. Okay, so the Dems created this big mess, and the Republican Party is coming to fix it, but the whole plan is to wage war, to take away your civil liberties, do away with the Constitution, and move the elites, all right, closer to their new world order. So let's listen to a little bit of this. We're also going to get into, all right, the reaction to this, as your President Trump has sold America out to these big tech billionaire, AI companies, setting up the MOTB system, how Palantir, Meta, OpenAI, and Thinking Machines had their executives sworn into the U.S. Army Reserve, okay? Right under your nose, okay? But we'll tap into that. But let's first go here, and hopefully you brothers and sisters are edified.
The Trump administration is preparing for possible enemy sleeper cell attacks inside the U.S. after Operation Midnight Hammer in Iran. One part of that concern, we now know 1,504 Iranian illegals who were detained at our southern border during the Biden administration were released. More than half of them released into the U.S.
For all we know, they may have gotten sleeper cells into the country during Joe Biden's wide open border. So the threats are serious.
They are here, they are active, and that's what we need the FBI Director Kash Patel to be keeping after for all of our safety.
I mean, Esau Edom really isn't that he's a bit overrated. I mean, his plans is pretty much okay, he continues the same narrative over and over and over again, and it's something that it took this long for people to wake up to him. All right, but and people are falling for it. Okay. U.S. Americans shouldn't be scared. The Second Amendment is something we should be ready to use to, the right to bear arms. Thank you, Democrats. This is all you're doing. This is all your fault. And they're all working together, man. Okay. But now sleeper cells could be here in America with interest of Iran. And all right, ironically, U.S. is at, with friction with Iran when you deal with the theater of war that's going on. All right, which all of this is orchestrated. All right, by Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, but he's using the left hand. All right, these elites who are trying to hijack the earth to themselves for their purpose, man, to set up their NWO. All right, and administer that micro C-hip as a means of surveilling people, because now we don't know who's who, what's what people think and what they want to do. So for peace and safety, we're going to need to bring in more surveillance. All right. In these AI technologies that we're going to get into real quick.
The administration is being vigilant. Law enforcement across the country is being vigilant, but it is a real danger because we've had 4 years of open borders.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem briefed the nation's governors yesterday. They are grateful for Noem's help as they are having to step up security measures just in case to protect people in their states. Mark Meredith is in Washington, D.C. Mark, I've said it before, all hands on deck.
Harris, it certainly appears to be the case. Good morning to you. The threat of Iranian attacks on Americans abroad and here at home is real. Homeland Security officials have briefed the nation's governors, telling them to stay on alert. We also got a bulletin from DHS about what they're worried about. They say the likelihood of violent extremists in the homeland independently mobilizing to violence in response to the conflict would likely increase if Iranian leadership issued a religious ruling calling for retaliatory violence against targets in the homeland. Already, several U.S. cities have increased their security posture. There is extra security in some places of worship. We know that
Now, remember how the Patriot Act was used after 9/11. As a matter of fact, I believe I typed it in here. It's, I asked ChatGPT, how was the Patriot Act used against U.S. citizens after 9/11, which we already know what's the deal with that. It says the Patriot Act passed shortly after 9/11 in 2000 was presented as a tool to fight terrorism, but it opened the door for mass surveillance and erosion of civil liberties. Okay, all of your conversations, everything you do is tracked. Okay, all behind things like the Patriot Act. Okay, so it took away it led to the erosion of civil liberties, especially for U.S. citizens. Okay, the Patriot Act. Okay, officially the U.S. Patriot Act, uniting and strengthening America by providing appropriate tools. All right. And where do a lot of these tools come from is this company called Babel Street. All right. You look up what Babel Street is. What is Babel Street? And I like to keep these terms in your mind so that, you can see what these devils are doing. But Babel Street, data analytics platform, threat intelligence tool. Okay, so a lot of, it's one of the top providers of surveillance technology. All right, which on the internet is tripping here, but Lord willing, we get through this. Babel Street, and it's interesting that this is called Babel Street, and they're building the modern day Tower of Babel via this technology. Okay, but going back here, mass surveillance, expanded wiretapping, data collection, secret court orders, reduced judicial oversight. How was it used against U.S. citizens? Mass surveillance. All right. NSA included used section 215 to collect metadata from millions of Americans' phones, calls, texts, emails, even if they had no link to terrorism. So how much more in these times as they're moving closer to the NWO? All right, because the Patriot Act never went anywhere. It's just here under different terms, okay? And it's going to be heightened, who you called. Okay, when you called, how long the call lasted. No warrant was needed. All right. And Edward Snowden exposed this, and look what they did to him. All right. You can look that up. Warrantless searches, sneak and peek warrants, expanded FBI powers with national security letters, surveillance of activists, Muslims, and dissenters. See that? Surveillance of activists, Muslims, and dissenters. Okay. And again, this is a tool that will be used to root out upright conversation. All right. Because as we're going to show you again, okay, Planeteer, Meta, OpenAI, and Thinking Machines just had their executives sworn into the U.S. Army. And as we've been showing you, if you've been watching, okay, Trump, okay, he's allowed these companies and this technology to be, it's already being used over here in the Americas. How much more with the talking point of sleeper cells, all right, dealing with Iran wiggling around in America, okay, eating falafel.
NYPD is also watching these developments and tracking some of the diplomatic sites around the Big Apple as well. The State Department, it's also been warning Americans who are traveling or living abroad to exercise increased caution. It's urging people to check travel advisories, which are updated regularly. Top Republicans, including Vice President Vance, say the U.S. is concerned about the potential for attacks within the homeland, given how many people have crossed into the U.S. over the last few years without proper vetting.
Again, let's get the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter. Let's see here. Yep, this is Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. Okay, problem, reaction, solution. They've already had these things on the books. They already have these plans. They just need the necessary events to take place that will give them the go-ahead to bring these things down the pipe. All right, and we always bring this out, but why not bring it out again? Okay, a lot of the prophecy videos are going to be repetitious with certain scriptures because they're rumors until they hit, and it's playing out right before your very eyes. So it's good to, as the scriptures say in Hebrews, pay attention to these things unless they slip. All right, because a lot of deception is coming. Revelation 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. All right, the final leg of the revival of the fourth beast, which is the revival of the Western Roman Empire, which started at the Renaissance, ends here with Babylon the Great and this beast system that has been formulated. All right, that deals with NATO and the EU. Okay, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, Babylon the Great, and he had two horns like a lamb. Okay, the Democratic and Republican system, and he spake as a dragon. So we can see how the Democratic and Republican system have been used even in this situation. This is a very clear example of them allowing all of these damn people over here. Now, all right, we need to use brutal force to get people out. And now there's sleeper cells amongst us. All right. This is another video. ICE arrests 15 illegal Iranians after U.S. attack on nuclear sites.
Concern about our safety here at home in the wake of the strikes on Iran.
See that? Now the news is a concern about our safety here at home. Okay.
Nuclear sites. Breaking news today. Immigration and Customs agents announced they have arrested 15 illegal Iranian immigrants since Sunday. One of them admitted to ties to Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Oh, yeah. He just admitted ties to Hezbollah. I mean, you can't make this shit up, man. Like the late Kevin Samuels. You can't make this shit up, man. Let's listen to it.
Concern about our safety here at home in the wake of the strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Breaking news today. Immigration and Customs agents announced they have arrested 15 illegal Iranian immigrants since Sunday. One of them admitted to ties to Hezbollah in Lebanon. A law enforcement source told Fox News the...
Now look at what they look at their setup here. Palestinian resistance. You got the speaker. You got him in all black. Okay. I don't understand how you can't. I know y'all see where this is going.
FBI is closely watching for any Iranian-backed sleeper agents in the wake of Operation Midnight Hammer. During the Biden administration, border agents arrested more than 1,500 Iranians who entered illegally at our southern border. They let nearly half of them go. President Trump on that this morning.
Biden let a lot of supercells. Biden was an incompetent president, had no idea what he was doing. He let a lot of supercells in, many from Iran. But hopefully we'll take care of them. What Biden did to this country should never be forgotten.
Justice correspondent David Spunt is in Washington. David.
Well, Harris, the news about the 15 Iranian nationals coming illegally into the U.S. is no surprise to the people at the Justice Department, the FBI, and, of course, the Department of Homeland Security. According to authorities, one of them has ties to Hezbollah. Another is an alleged former sniper for the Iranian army. At a budget hearing yesterday, Attorney General Pam Bondi said the number of Iranians illegally in the United States continues to grow.
It's well over 1,000 have entered our country, and I can tell you we are on high alert, and everyone is looking at that very closely.
Now, she says budget cuts won't affect the overall mission. DOJ and the FBI continue to focus on threats toward President Trump himself as a result of his ordering of the killing of this man, General Qasem Soleimani.
And what technology are they using to find these people out? And where they are is the very technology that they're getting ready to, which they already are, let loose here in Babylon the Great. And we'll show you that.
In January 2020, assassination plots originating in Iran, not only toward President Trump, but to U.S. residents who once lived in Iran. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, seen there yesterday, was asked about sleeper cells in the United States. Those are groups of people who live among us in the U.S. quietly.
And you can look at these people and tell that they're up to no good. Again, we're reading Revelation 13. The purpose of him speaking as a dragon is ultimately, all right, to bring forth legislation that leads to exactly what they want to do. Okay, make you bow to their image and take their mark. See? So we're seeing the groundwork for this very technology to be let loose. All right, knowledge is being increased, but we'll get into that aspect. I just wanted to show these few videos. I got one more after this one, and then we'll jump into the juice.
Until ordered to act.
We've seen some from overseas and some that have been here, maybe gone overseas for a short period of time, become radicalized and come back, or individuals that are right here in the United States.
Noem held a conference call with some of the nation's governors over the weekend to pledge federal resources to help on the state level to combat any threats, whether federal or local. Attorney General Bondi back in front of lawmakers tomorrow to talk about the DOJ budget, but you can expect some of these topics also will likely come up.
No, David, thank you. In focus now, Jerry Jones, retired U.S. Marine bomb tech and Fox News contributor. Look, we got a big job to do after what ex-President Biden left behind. I would not have guessed that many Iranian illegals, though, would still be trying to get in.
Yeah, and you find out, are these dissidents or are they bad actors? And probably a mix of both. I think if I take any solace in what's happening right now, it's this idea that if there are sleeper cells in our country, they were here before this war broke out. And we were actively...
So you think that?
Well, for the most part, yes. I mean, I think that President Trump has a much better control of the border than... So, post June 13th, I think we have as much control of our border as we can have. So if there are sleeper cells here that are active, chances are they were here before this war broke out. And the reason why I bring that up is we have such good agencies and such good law enforcement officers and tactics to combat outside infiltrators. The real threat are lone wolf, people that are from here that get inspired. Because the way we combat them is we track communication and purchases, things of that nature. If you're coordinating something, you're working with someone else, and we have an amazing ability to get inside those conversations. If those
look at the comments, people are falling for it. No sentence is too harsh for domestic terrorism. Good job to the FBI and the ICE agents, but they don't understand. All right, because MAGA right now, a lot of them are still trying to, have faith in Trump. A lot of them are waking up to what he's doing. Some of us still trying to justify. Even Alex Jones, who's a big time, Trump head. He's justifying Trump allowing this technology to be used here on U.S. citizens, barring things like this. Okay, let's listen to a little bit more.
Conversations are going on inside your head. That's different, and that's the real threat. So then the coordination is people screaming intifada, just like 10 years ago when they would scream jihad. And someone being inspired by that energy, whether that energy is purposely that type of violent or not.
Yeah, Mahmoud Khalil was let out by a judge this week. He was the agitator and activist on a Columbia University.
And they're showing people protesting on the streets. They're showing the guys with the mic and the. Okay, I mean, this is all a psychological operation. Okay, this is what they do. As a matter of fact, let's get Psalms 40. Or Psalms 140, rather. In the first verse, it says, "Deliver me, O Yahweh, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war." That's exactly what they're doing, man. There's mischief tied to everything you see, man. It's just a big psychological operation. Okay. And having the Holy Spirit allows you to clearly see through it. But the Lord is even putting the Spirit on everyday people to see that this is madness. And yes, this is all biblical. This is all something that the prophets should be going into, warning about. You get, kind of tired. I know this week with all of this stuff happening, all of the news, I kind of worn out and tired of the news. So you kind of tap into, motivating brothers and sisters more, getting into your Hawashai, which I plan on doing, going forward. But, we also still have to keep our eyes on what this devil is doing, because they're imagining mischief in their hearts and they're gathering together for war. Okay. It said they have sharpened their tongues like a serpent adder. Poison is under their lips. And when you look up this word sharpened, all right, shanan, to sharpen, to whet, to teach. All right. And that's what they're doing via these news platforms, these mediums, which are basically like mediators to bring you over to their will and their gods and their demonic madness, their enchantments. These are all enchantments, but it says to inculate. And the word inculate just means to teach diligently, to instill an attitude or idea by habit, right? By persistent instruction. Okay, to teach someone an attitude or idea. So by doing this, all right, you're listening to these two people talking. All right, but what are they showing? They're showing protesters, right? Earlier, they showed you a guy with a microphone. See if we can bring that back up. All right, they're showing you a guy with a microphone. They in all black, holding signs. This is basically a psychological operation to get you prepared for the war they're getting ready to wage on their own citizens. All right. Mainly those who have a problem or who speak against their will. OK. Point blank, period. This is what's going on. Now, I'm going to get one more on this flow, and then
in heaven.
This is the Brothers Saints of Jersey 2. Subscribe, be edified. Stay alert. Iranian weapon found on U.S. soil. So now they found an Iranian weapon on U.S. soil. So things are getting ready to speed up. All right. And may Yahweh Bashim Yahshua be with us.
And the Lord is going to activate them angels, but the rest of these people, man, these elites are planning something big. A lot of people about to die. Let's check this report out.
You want another layer? In California, law enforcement just found an Iranian missile stashed under a freaking house. Yeah, military grade near LA.
An Iranian missile is under somebody's crib.
On American soil. And how did it get there? How long has it been there? Nobody knows. Nobody's answering the question, and mainstream media is completely silent. Check it out.
Whoever is around it, that's what you know. Yeah, you're gonna be the PIO? Are you? No, I'm the captain. You're the captain? Usually the information you can share. Oh, okay, there it is. Oh, it's Susan. Oh, no, we was there in fashion. Oh, exactly. Yeah. It sounds like this. And what was I found? All the new order here. That was it. On the new patch. On the sale.
You don't need a second job. See, you just need to learn to be aware, stay alert. Because it's just a matter of time before the Lord He take us to the next level. This is Proverbs.
That's right.
22, verse 3. It says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on."
There you go. So the Lord is getting ready to take this ministry to another level. Again, practice. We were in practice. Now it's game time. Okay. And things are going to have to be second nature. Being in the spirit is going to have to be second nature. You know, all of that talking back and second guessing leadership and being proud and being self-willed and not, you know, being locked into the spirit, trying to be a lone wolf. Hey, it ain't going to work. You're going to have to be in order in these times. Okay. In Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to be with those who are of the sincere spirit, man. Because again, just like Yahweh Shai, all right, we're going to be numbered amongst the transgressors. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. And check that video out. Let's get Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. Yahweh Shai had to be numbered amongst the transgressors. Okay. Let's see here. See if I can find it. Boom. Isaiah 53:12. Because of what Yahweh Shai did, this is his great reward. It says, therefore, I'll divide him a portion with the great. All right. He's going to share his blessing, you know, of the earth and the things therein. All right. The heathen as well, which are human resources. All right. The number one resource of any king is human resources. Right. So the Lord is going to divide that. All of that power is going to be divided. All right. With his elect, starting with the 12, with King David being the first disciple or king under him. Therefore, will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death. He was numbered with the transgressors and bare the sin of many. So him being numbered amongst the transgressors, let's get the precept showing you how that played out, or a way that was played out. All right. It was numbered with the transgressors. Boom. Let's get Mark 15:28. Let's see here. This is when, you know, Yahweh Shai was brought before Pilate, okay, by his own people. As a matter of fact, you start at 1, and straightway in the morning, the chief priest held a consultation with the elders and the scribes, the chief priest. And the whole council, and bound Yahweh Shai and carried him away and delivered him to Pilate. Okay, so here it is. You have the priest giving Yahweh Shai over to Pilate. All right, but when you go to verse 7, just to jump to it, I'll start at verse 6. Now at the feast he released unto them one prisoner, whomsoever they desired. And there was one named Barabbas, which lay bound with them that had made insurrection, and who had committed murder in the insurrection. Okay, let's read this in the NLT. One of the prisoners at that time was Barabbas, a revolutionary who had committed murder in an uprising. Okay, and what was going on at this time was you had many of the zealots, many of the Jews rebelling against the Roman authorities, rebelling against, you know, taxing, rebelling against them, you know, having rule over Judea, and they were fighting to free their nation, which Yahweh Shai came on the scene saying, no, that's not what my walk is all about. And if they had paid attention to prophecy, they would know that we were supposed to be under the Roman rule at that time. Just like right now, we're supposed to be under America, which is the revival of Rome. We're not to fight our way out of it, but you had many of the Jews that did. So here it is. You have Barabbas, who committed a murder in an insurrection. All right. And what is an insurrection? Okay. Stasis. Okay. A standing, an insurrection, strife. And let's just look up the word insurrection here. Insurrection, a violent uprising against an authority or government. And that's ultimately the picture they're painting with these sleeper cells. That's the picture they're ultimately going to paint with us. Rebellion, revolting. Okay. You see that with the those so-called protests, which what happened with that over in LA over ICE. All right. And again, we're going to be numbered right in the midst of that shit, man. Okay. To cause or make one to stand, to establish, to cause a person or thing to sit in his place. So Barabbas, who Jake wanted to free. Remember, Jake said, "Free Barabbas." This is what he did. He committed a murder, and the multitude crying aloud began to desire him to do as he had ever done with them. But Pilate answered, saying, Will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? So Yahweh Shai is numbered with an actual transgressor right here. Okay. And again, that was prophesied in the book of Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. You see what I'm saying? So what the brother is going into here, okay, stay alert, Iranian weapon found on U.S. soil. We just showed you how, now 15 illegal Iranians who just, they admit to being, with Hamas or whatever, terrorist organization, they showing streets, preachers, people protesting. Again, this is all a way to accuse the brethren, and we will be numbered amongst this. You're going to have vocab Malone popping up, you see? But overall, what we're witnessing is the justification, just like the Patriot Act, because, again, we showed you what the Patriot Act led to: surveillance of activists, Muslims, and they're going to link us with, Islamic and Muslim domestic terror. Dissenters. Okay, what is a dissenter? Okay, a dissenter is a person who holds opinions that are at variance with the commonly or officially held. Okay, member of a non-established church, a non-conformist, and we can fall under that category. You were monitored, mapped, placed on watch list. Okay, bottom line, the Patriot Act turned ordinary Americans into suspects. Okay. It was abused. Prophetic parallel, like ancient Babylon or the Chaldeans, this act created a surveillance state under the illusion of using fear to justify total information awareness. So there you go. And pretty much that's who's at play, the modern day Chaldeans. Okay, using their enchantments to justify bringing about this technology to surveil your ass. Because, again, as we just brought out here, Planeteer, Meta, OpenAI, and Thinking Machines just had their executives sworn into the U.S. Army Reserve. Okay? 4 top tech executives have joined the U.S. Army Reserve as lieutenant colonels, skipping basic training and stepping directly into roles aimed at helping modernize the military. See how it all is all playing out? Okay. The initiative is a part of a broader push by the Army to bring private sector innovation and reshape how service approach technology, talent, and modernization. Okay. Here's another article. Some people are rebelling against it. But let's check this out. Tech executives commissioned as senior Army officers won't rescue themselves from DOD business dealings.
Commissioned as senior Army officers won't recuse themselves from DOD business dealings. 4 big tech executives the Army directly commissioned to be lieutenant colonels with no military background will
not
recuse themselves from business dealings with the Department of Defense as the Pentagon, particularly the Army, cozies up to Silicon Valley. Earlier this month, the Army announced Detachment 201, the name being a reference to HTTP code, for the newly commissioned executives of Palantir, Meta, and OpenAI. The new formation is set to recruit tech executives to work on major Army challenges, but the service has not articulated exactly what those individuals would do, instead focusing on recruiting talent and creating jobs around them. They're not making acquisition decisions. They're not senior decision makers, Steve Warren, an Army spokesperson, told reporters Wednesday when asked about what oversight mechanisms are in place over the new unit. It's not in our interest to show any favoritism to a company. That would be the exact opposite of what we're trying to do, right? What we want is competition. That's what we're looking for. These guys will help us think about that. The 4 include Shyam Sankar, Chief Technology Officer for Palantir, Andrew Bosworth, Chief Technology Officer of Meta, Kevin Weil, Chief Product Officer of OpenAI, and Bob McGrew, advisor at Thinking Machines Lab and former chief research officer for OpenAI. They'll take part in an extremely accelerated 2-week training course to familiarize themselves with the Army. Some of that will be online training and the rest will be at Fort Benning, Georgia. It's unclear whether they'll have to adhere to typical service standards, including fitness and marksmanship. Sankar has pledged to donate all of the money he earns as a part-time.
And they're doing away with the what was required. You know, they're bypassing, you know, the standards and laws. And again, this technocracy is being set in place. All right. And this is what they do. Oh, shit, I forgot about this. Well, I guess I may as well just bring it out real quick. Astrologer who helped guide President Reagan's schedule dies at 87. So showing you that they use astrologers, stargazers, or as, let's get Isaiah 47, right? Isaiah, the 47th chapter. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Thou shalt no more be called tender or delicate. And if you've been watching, we've showed you why Babylon the Great is linked to the daughter of the Chaldeans, because the Chaldeans were considered the wisest. And we went here to, you know, to ChatGPT and asked how would the Chaldeans use AI and Planeteer today? Okay. Who were the Chaldeans? Not just rulers, priests, magicians, star watchers, and data interpreters. And the fact that a president who sat in office had an astrologer helping him shows you that it goes deep. And this is on a small level. Okay, now we're seeing the big dogs openly show themselves, man. And when you deal with Planeteer, all right, who's the CEO of that, or one of the founders? You guessed it, he's a small hat, Alex Karp, and we'll get into him in just a minute. But let's go back here. If the Chaldeans had access to Planeteer today, it would be the new sorcery. All right, just as they used astrology and omens to predict the future. All right, they use AI algorithms to forecast trends, social unrest, political shifts, and economic collapse. And this is all that what they need. They won't just predict events, they'll shape them. And this is what we see happening with these wars, with these uproars, with these protests, so that they can control the narrative and create order out of chaos, feeding AI the right inputs to steer outcomes. Ancient Chaldeans used signs in the heavens to decode fate. Modern Chaldeans would use predictive models, big data, neural networks to decode and control fate. And this is what they're doing. They're putting their enchantments right before our very eyes, man. Palantir equals the crystal ball of the empire. All right. Palantir Technologies in real life. All right. Intelligence platform is a real life intelligence platform used by governments, militaries, and corporations for mass surveillance, predictive policing, battlefield intelligence. All right. Watch Minority Report. That's coming here. Economic forecasting, social behavior tracking. OK, and our apostles and elders were talking about this before Planeteer became a thing. Planeteer is fairly new. If the Chaldeans were in charge of it, they would track citizens' thoughts, purchases, fears, and loyalties, create digital maps of society, build a prophetic AI priesthood, right? And that's what we're seeing. Okay. The Chaldeans were the prototype of today's technocratic elite. AI and Palantir wouldn't be tools of freedom in their hand. They will be instruments of spiritual and political control, because they're bringing about a new religion into the earth. And it's really centered around Satanism. This is why you see, you know, Judaism, Islam, you know, Christianity constantly at war, you know, behind these ideologies. Ultimately, they're going to do away with all of those and unite everything under this new world, man. Okay. How would the enchantments and prognosticators and the Chaldeans used in Isaiah 47 play out in today's world? Because when you read Isaiah, the 47th chapter, okay, one of the things it says here is, and this is speaking of Babylon the Great, man. Isaiah 47:10, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, no one seeth me. Now the wicked is being revealed. Thy wisdom and knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me. All right. Verse 12, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. And if so, thou shalt be able to profit. If so, thou mayest prevail. Okay. Let's get this real quick. The all-seeing eye. Why did Trump ask Planeteer to create a national database of U.S. citizens? Your precious Trump, all right, the Make America Great Again, the guy that said he don't want no more wars. He duped you all, man, and he's doing the bidding of his handlers.
How much do you know about that? How much do you know about the history of Alex Karp, the name? Prior to that, the CIA, when it started, the month after it got started, that's weird. Some of the people involved, how now it's a $300 billion company. Just a couple of years ago, it was a $15 billion company. Stock just skyrocketed. I think I even recommended it a few years ago, one of the videos that I did. Trump partnering up, a lot of people in the California issue coming out saying, we should use Palantir. Why? Well, we have this technology called Gotham. And Palantir wanted them to know how to judge people's behavior. Some of the Minority Report, which is kind of like a cool idea. And then the timing of it when it came out is right after what some of the people were trying to do with the government, DARPA, in 2003, but they closed and they said, no, we're not doing this program, which I'll talk about later. A month later, Palantir started with Alex Karp and Peter Thiel, but the history of it's weird. The most basic thing to be thinking about, the name Palantir, where does even Palantir come from? You ever watch Lord of the Rings? In Lord of the Rings, there's this thing called Palantir. Obviously, a guy like me, who's for sure is a nerd, I follow all this stuff very, very closely. The meaning of Palantir is seeing stones. It's this stone that tells you what everybody in the world is doing today.
Now, the interesting part about this talking point of Planeteer, let's check this out. It was in Lord of the Rings. See if it comes up. Yeah, Planeteer, the Lord of the Rings, planetary, are a powerful magical seeing stones created by elves. They allow users to communicate across vast distances and perceive events happening elsewhere in the earth, man. And again, this is how they're finding all of these Iranian leaders. And again, this ain't new technology. I mean, if you seeing this is about 30 to 60 years old. Okay, but it's coming out now because the Lord is ultimately exposing the wicked. But here it is: you have something that was in a movie dealing with sorcery and witchcraft. All right, now being used right before your very eyes, man. Absolutely crazy. Okay. Let's see here.
What are the Palantiri, those magical seeing stones in The Lord of the Rings? What can they do, and what's their history? Let's take a look. Hi everyone, this is Robert.
And people are just on the comment board, because you got a lot of Lord of the Ring heads. I never really got into it. I heard it was, decent. I don't know too much about it, but now it's being used right before your very eyes by your government.
Name the company Palantir. So they're not even beating around the bush. We got to build Palantir to see what you're doing. That's kind of like somebody starts a old folks home called Hannibal Lecter, and you're like, listen, send your father, send your mom, your parents are going to be totally taken care of. Why you guys call it Hannibal Lecter? Who cares? It's just a name. Send them here. They're going to live a long life. They're going to be great. They're going to be okay. Send them to our place, Hannibal Lecter. Literally, a lot of questions that people have. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into seeing what the hell is going on with that.
All right, you can watch this video. Valuetainment. I'm not going to play much more of it. And this guy, Peter Thiel, at one of his recent speakings, let's watch this person curse him out for how he's using it on the Palestinians, or how it's being used on the Palestinians. This very technology. Let's jump here. I think I brought this out before, but here we go. It should be right here. Here we go.
Peter Thiel and Alex Karp in 2004, thanks to a grant from the
Small Hat. Let's see if Alex Karp is a small hat. Yep. No, Peter Thiel. So we know Alex Karp is a small hat. What's the other one name? Theo. See if he's Jewish. It was not really given. Say he's American from New Zealand. See if he's a small hat. I'm pretty sure he is. He speaks on behalf of them. You know, he's a. All right, but he just says American. Citizenship, United States, New Zealand. Born in West Germany. Pretty sure he is. You trust that guy? Anyway.
CIA's venture capital arm, InQtel. During a shareholder meeting earlier this year, Palantir CEO Alex Karp bragged about the blood his high-tech killing products had shed around the world.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
Palantir has also invested heavily in Israel's genocidal assault on the Gaza Strip, where its programs have assisted Israel's AI targeting in the face of public protest. Karp has proudly acknowledged his company's role in the Gaza bloodbath.
Mostly terrorists, that's true.
See, mostly terror. So you don't think they could fin getting ready to do that here? And justify it because you're a terror person?
Okay.
By the time the AI Expo began, Palantir's stock was surging to record heights, thanks to a disturbing New York Times report revealing that the Trump administration had granted the company a massive contract to integrate the private data of American citizens across a wide array of federal government departments.
So here we are, man. They're getting ready to come down with great wrath. Okay? This is that scarlet colored beast at work, man. Okay? This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 and 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, his philosophy. And we're starting to see how AI and all of these various different things are being, used. And, they allow people to use it because it's basically being used to track everything we're typing in, everything we Google, every phone conversation, everything is being recorded and will be used against us. But at the end of the day, there is no condemnation to those who fear Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. We're covered through the blood of Yahweh Shai, man. So there is no accusation. See, again, let's get it. We always get it. Yep, here we go. In Revelation, the 12th chapter. All right. Now you see it coming to fruition. Revelation 12 and 10. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now has come salvation and the strength of our kingdom and the power of our anointed and the power of our, the strength of our power and the power of his anointed, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down. This will be used to accuse you, put you in a category, detain you, put you to death, which accused him before our power day and night. And now they have the technology to justify it. Again, their scientific racism has now went AI. Is now been upgraded. They're bringing back all of that madness, but it's being presented to you in the form of AI surveillance. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they love not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So as you can see, all right, they're going to accuse us, but the blood of Yahweh Shai is going to cover the elect. Okay? And we're going to be numbered amongst the transgressors, man. Okay, let's listen to some of this.
I haven't paid ultra close attention to the executive orders. Some of my reporting in the lead up to his inauguration and also during the campaign, as it related to, the Trump camp in particular, are some of his connections to these big tech figures, whether it's Elon Musk or figures that are, also part of the so-called PayPal mafia, David Sachs being the crypto NAA czar, for example, and someone like JD Vance having relatively close proximity to Peter Thiel, someone at a top HHS position, Jim O'Neill, also very close to Peter Thiel, who has, I would argue, wildly different views than Robert F. Kennedy, who's supposed to lead HHS, especially in terms of deregulation, biotech, and mRNA technology. What are these things?
And we remember what RFK wants. He wants everybody to have wearables. We've been going into it, man. You got to catch up. Okay. RFK wants everybody to wear wearables. Oh, I forgot to play this one. Let's play this and we'll go back to that one. Give me 1 second here.
Endorsement Republican primary is essentially dispositive. So JD Vance owes a lot of his career, is very close allies to Peter Thiel, one of the founders of Palantir. But at this point, Peter Thiel's involvement in Palantir is quite minimal. The person who really runs Palantir is Alex Karp. And despite the fact that he's worth many billions of dollars, this is extremely influential and increasingly menacing deep state entity that is becoming particularly powerful in the Trump administration, very little attention has been paid to him in terms of who he is and what he thinks. But I think with the growing influence of Palantir, the kind of realization of the apex of its aspirations to become the omnipotent provider of government surveillance and the technology that runs it and the data that collects it, he's become very emboldened. He's been speaking a lot more publicly about his belief system, the agenda that he believes in, the ideology he pursues. He's far from some sort of neutral or apolitical technologist.
Yeah, again, Trump, make America Christian again. God, this, he duped you people. Now he's surrounding himself with atheists, people who believe in a cabal, these weird tech guys. What's going on?
Very much the opposite. He is a hardcore neocon, as devoted of a loyalist to Israel as it gets. He very much.
I heard the term neocon, but let's see what a neocon is. What is a neocon? What is a neocon? In short, the neocon. Okay. Which neocon is short for neoconservative, refers to a political ideology and movement originated in the United States in the 20th century, known for its aggressive foreign policy, support for military intervention, and belief in spreading American-style democracy abroad, yada, yada, yada. Strong military and global dominance, yada, yada, yada. So the sword is just being sharpened, man. Okay?
Believes in the virtues and necessity of American war and American power, and makes very clear that the goal of Palantir is to serve that and maximize it. So I just want to show you a little bit about Alex Karp, the person who really is the sole controller and manager of Palantir, the company that, as we just showed you, is now playing such a central role, almost unprecedentedly powerful role in America's deep state and in its intelligence apparatus and security state. Here from May of 2025, so just last month, is Alex Karp. He was doing an event at the Ash Carter Exchange, and here's part of what he said.
What I think is a often overlooked part of this battle is we kind of just think these things that are happening across college campuses especially are like a sideshow. No, they are the show. Because if we lose the intellectual debate, you will not be able to deploy any arming in the West ever. And of course our adversary.
All right, here is Alex Karp speaking on CNBC. I just want to kind of show you what he speaks about, what he prioritizes. Here he is proclaiming anti-Semitism in the United States, particularly the college protest against Israel, to be one of the gravest problems. And here's a decree that he issued about all that.
Most of America is horrified by what happened on October 7th. Almost everyone in America is horrified by the dramatic rise of anti-Semitism, which does not receive the reaction it deserves. And most Americans would like to see leadership on the Middle East, on bringing hostages home, especially American hostages, and clear statements about discrimination, even discrimination against Jews. I feel, though, I think part of the reason why leaders need to stand up is this is a very, very, very small minority of America. They succeed in having an outsized impact simply because the rest of America thinks they're so idiotic that this can't actually be dangerous or true. But it is dangerous, and they do believe these things. And if we do not speak up, they will continue to tell themselves this, and there will be a sense on their side that it's okay to push the boundaries and push the boundaries and push the boundaries. And so, as heinous as what these people are saying is, it exists in part because there are not enough people saying this is really dumb, this is hatred, and it will not be tolerated.
It would be, I think, sinister enough if somebody just completely apolitical was at the helm of a privatized surveillance state as expansive and powerful and virtually limitless as Palantir now is. But to have somebody who views protest movements against a foreign government to which he's loyal, Israel, harbor so much contempt and so much hatred for the people who are those protesters, does it seem like he's somebody who is inclined to use this surveillance power or in this data in very neutral and apolitical ways? Or do you think he's somebody who feels so passionately about things like Israel that that information in his hands would almost certainly be weaponized against those who he thinks are advocating an ideology that he regards as evil or dangerous? I think the question.
It's clear. It's clear. And again, RFK wearables. Okay. RFK proposes the same microchipping they warned us about.
I want to discuss with you some of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s testimony yesterday. The point of looking at this is not simply about, oh, look at how wacky Donald Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services is. That's true. That makes for a perfectly interesting and fine.
And you can watch this video. But again, here we are. The prophets were right. Okay, we prophesied this, starting with our apostles and elders. Okay.
Diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. We think that wearables are a key to the Maha agenda, making America healthy again. And we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
Secretary.
No, find Jesus, RFK.
And remember your boy Sleepy Joe. It's no longer on the internet. Let's see if we can find it here. Joe Biden says we will vote on see if we can find it. Yeah. Let's go to Rumble. Look at this guy. Look at the title of that one. But Joe Biden. See if it's here. It's definitely not on YouTube. Let's see here. There we go. Sleepy Joe predicts implantable C-hips and pre-crime brain scans in 2025. F it. We here. Let's just play it. May Yahweh Shemel Shah keep the video up. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah, got the dang on.
And we'll be faced with equally consequential decisions in the 21st century. Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that.
Hello.
Forgiveness program is wiping out $20,000 of debt.
Shut
for
up.
all Americans. I'll add the website below.
Shut your ass up.
Big retailers don't want you to have this zoom lens, but there's nothing they can do.
You know what? We saw what we needed to see. Let's just move along with the show.
ultimately going to result in. And I would consider people to consider those connections and also consider that there's a high likelihood, just like in the first term, that there will be a lot of, deregulation over the next 4 years. And I'm sure a lot of people will be happy about that. But I think some people that voted for Trump may not be, particularly in the Make America Healthy Again movement, where deregulation at the FDA, for example, could result in a flooding of the market with mRNA products, which are very controversial with a significant segment
This is not medical information. We just listening to Whitney.
of Trump's base, for example, or when Trump was in office the first time, he deregulated biotech and agriculture pretty significantly. A lot of people in that same Make America Healthy Again movement are not really into, a proliferation of GMO crops in the food supply, for example. I think a lot has been said about, people have probably noticed Palantir's stock performance. I think it's very likely that over the next 4 years, Palantir will become an even more important government contractor, considering that a lot of people that are prominent Palantir investors or co-founders have attached themselves in various ways, either to the Trump campaign as donors or occupying important posts in the administration. So Palantir, again, is sort of the engine that a lot of the surveillance state really runs on. And I think people should really educate themselves about it, especially as it relates to predictive policing and predictive health and predicting pandemics before it happens, and all of that is concerning.
That's how this is going to be used. Not only to predict, when you're going to get sick, all right, but to know who's going to do what before they do it. This is going to be salvation. They're setting up that MOTB infrastructure. We are here, brothers and you sisters who watch, man. We are here. I don't know what else is there to say. Now pretty much we just ride the wave of prophecy, man, and keep doing what we've been doing. But, Lord willing, more videos come, edifying on certain breakdowns, presenting Yahweh Shai more, because we here. We are here, man. And the testimony of us going into these prophecies is the spirit of Yahweh Shai, man. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man.
To you. And I think it's likely that there's going to be an increase in biometric digital ID. Trump has sort of marketed this as a way to stop mass migration. And the dialectics are different, but it's sort of a policy that's being marketed all over the world. Depending on the country, the sales pitch is different, but ultimately that policy is being marketed, and the push into digital assets, I think, is also happening globally. And I think Trump made it very clear that he was going to be very focused on that. And I don't think there's any reason to doubt that particular premise. I personally am of the view that there are oligarchs that are interested in king-making markets. I think that's particularly true of someone like David Sachs, who's going to be the crypto AI czar and doesn't have to divest from any of his investments or other potential conflicts of interest with some of the firms that he'll be involved in overseeing or deciding regulation on. And when you have that type of power, you can easily king-make and pick and choose companies that you want to see win. And so you kind of have to wonder if this is really going to be a free market type of situation, as a lot of people would like it to be, because when you have that type of centralized power sort of deciding who wins and who doesn't, and, having OpenAI and Oracle, for example, in this recent announcement, those are very big companies that are likely to only get bigger should there be a more decentralized landscape in these industries that are so important to foster competition. Or are we getting close to a quasi-monopoly model in certain fields of big tech? And I think that could be potentially problematic and something to look at, especially when you consider that there have been, statements made by members of the quote-unquote PayPal mafia that free market competition is for losers, and that companies should find a niche and corner that market and essentially build a monopoly or quasi-monopoly. And some of those people have done that in direct collaboration with the national security state, as is the case of Palantir, for example, which was, created with CIA and In-Q-Tel's direct involvement and has very significant CIA connections from its origins to now. So if you're building a quasi-monopoly and you don't like free market competition and you're going to partner, with most powerful and unaccountable parts of the state in that way, what does that ultimately mean? And this is, going to be the free market utopia that we're being.
Yeah, you can watch more of this one. Hold up.
In-person shopping and really in-person activities, including healthcare, in-person doctor visits, moving to telemedicine as much as possible. And this was really a big focus of that commission, which was a meeting of the national security state and the big tech industry in the years prior to COVID-19. And a lot of that push into the digital realm was a consequence of a lot of COVID-19 era policies that helped sort of feed that ambition. But I think with this goal to have an increased, investment in AI infrastructure, we're likely to see that develop. And it's not really surprising that you have Larry Ellison of Oracle involved. He's recently had comments about the need for things like digital ID in the United States, which would be sort of a core.
And wasn't that guy Larry Ellison with Trump when he got elected? It was some of the first faces you saw this is one of the first faces you saw when Trump got, elected. So it's like we beating a dead horse. We brought all of this out. This was also another video. I believe I played this one already in another News and Prophecy. Let's see here. Give me 1 second.
Palantir is the same company which can target any Palestinian in Gaza and make kill targets out of them at will for the IDF. That operation is a test run for what is coming to America.
There you go. Let's get the book of Ezekiel. The sword is just being sharpened, man. Ezekiel, the 21st chapter. And back then the sword was the Babylonians. Okay? And now we have the modern day Babylonians sharpening their sword, but this is something that's going to be like never before. That's why Daniel, the 12th chapter says this, man. Daniel 12:1, and at that time shall Michael stand up. It's going to get so bad that angels are going to have to intervene. The great prince was standing for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even unto that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book of life, man. So a time such as never before. All right. Again, as we've been telling you, AI has something to do with that. That's why it says knowledge is going to increase. Okay, we're witnessing the miracles of the beast being presented unto you right before your very eyes, man. And a lot of people are going to look at this miracle as a means to help them, as a means to bring them, you know, into a safer environment. Okay, because everywhere you look, okay, there's some form of, as you can see here, active shooter opens fire in Santa Monica Mall. Okay. Everywhere you look, there's some sort of mishap. There's some crazy situation. You got the sleeper cells. So the Chaldeans are up to no good. The sword is being sharpened. Ezekiel 21:9, Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord, a sword is sharpened and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Now is now the time to be in happy-go-lucky and you know, living the good life? No, man. It's time to focus in and hone in on where we are in prophecy. Okay, because the Chaldeans ain't playing. Okay, the modern day Chaldeans are at work, man. Okay, and they're using these enchantments. Let's see here. They're using these enchantments. Isaiah 47:12. Stand now with thine enchantments. Okay. And the multitude of thy sorceries wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Let now the astrologers, stargazers, and monthly prognosticators stand up. And we showed you that they use these people. So how much more now with the ones we're witnessing in the form of Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, Larry Ellison, Elon Musk. That's all, Gil Bates. Enchantments in the Hebrew equals spells, mind control, illusion, sorceries, occult rituals, invoking spiritual forces for influence, astrologers and stargazers, priests and sometimes priestesses on the left hand who read the stars and predict political and personal outcomes. Now they have this technology on a whole nother level. Okay. Monthly prognosticators, and experts forecasting events based on cycles, the moon, and so forth, man. Enchantments today, mass deception tools, Hollywood, media sorcery, algorithms like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram act as digital spellcasters, making you addicted to distraction and disconnected from discernment. Prognosticators today equals data priests, tech giants, and global think tanks. They replace the ancient stargazers, predict what people will buy, believe, vote, and hear and fear. They use AI to simulate the future and adjust policy, censorship, and propaganda accordingly. Central banks, weather manipulation, stock algorithms, all simulate prognostication without divine wisdom. Babylon no longer consults the stars. She consults surveillance data. Okay, let's get Isaiah 19. Okay. And 3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counselor of, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king will rule them, saith the Lord. And we believe that we are in that regime right now. Okay. Why God judges this in Isaiah 47? Trust in God, because these systems replace trust in God with self-sufficiency and manipulation, give people the illusion of control, freedom as well, while enslaving them mentally and spiritually, spread false peace and counterfeit truth, keep people asleep in a decaying system. This is where we are right now. Okay, so what does this mean prophetically? Revelation 18 is directly echoed to Isaiah 47. So the Chat GPT, they got the breakdown now, because we've been pretty much, feeding it. Okay. For by thy sorceries, the pharmakia was the nations deceived. So in the end time world system, Babylon the Great would use enchantments, psychological manipulation, and false light, prognostication, data-driven mind control, and fake prophecy. Okay, both are tools to replace the prophetic word of God with human demonic insight. And they think they're in control, but they're going to find out that they're not. Final insight. The Chaldeans' tool of enchantment and prognostication have evolved in modern psychological warfare, digital sorcery, and data-driven deception. But the goal hasn't changed. To enthrone human power, replace divine truth, and keep the masses blind until the collapse. God mocked them in Isaiah 47 because none of their systems could stop his judgment. And see, this is what they've realized. Okay. And there was a video I did. I forget the name of it. It went into how they have technology to foresee the future. And pretty much they keep seeing the same outcome. This is why it says in Revelation, the 12th chapter, that they know that they have but a short time. Okay. Call hello Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So, we have a few more things, but I believe the point was made. Just stay alert through the Holy Spirit. Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is going to deliver us. This is why the scriptures say, deliver me from the wicked, which is thy sword. Because the sword is sharpened, man. This man is trying to set himself up in a position of God via his sword, his miracles. Ezekiel 28:2, Son of man, prophesy against the prince of Tyrus, which this now speaks to Esau. Thus said the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet thou art God, or a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret they can hide from thee. And this just taps into what's happening, man. He's setting his heart as the heart of God, man. Okay, I sit in the midst of the seas. I'm going to sit in the midst of the people and surveil them as a God. That's why in Revelation 17, Revelation the 17th chapter. Let's see here. Revelation 17:15, he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So he wants to sit in the midst of all of the people, okay, and act as a God, surveilling everything. This is the modern day Tower of Babel. Okay, we can clearly see it. And now they have the technology that the ancient tyrants didn't have. As a matter of fact, this guy, did what's his name? Noah Yuval Harari say that they now have the technology that ancient tyrants didn't. I believe he said it, man. See if it can pick it up. Yes. Boom. Yuval Noah Harari, which Yuval is one of the sons, Yabal, one of the sons of Cain. That's his name. has explicitly pointed out that today's tyrants have technologies ancient rulers could only dream of. For the first time in human history, in 2022, he said, for the first time in human history, it is possible to follow everybody all the time and know a person better than the person himself. None of the past dictators and tyrants can do this because they did not have the technologies. It took it away. Okay. Well, we saw what we needed to see. So again, this is the modern day Tower of Babel. All right. Right before our very eyes, man. So watch and pray. All right. Think the time is short. You know what I'm saying? They're putting the necessary players in position. All right. To bring about their NWO. All right. But in the fullness of his sufficiency, the Heavenly Father is going to slap the joystick out of his hand because he's doing too goddamn much. Hopefully I will edify. On to the next. Shalom. It's crazy. They just cut that shit off.